Hello everyone. So as you can see, the title is kind of different from the one that we had on the agenda. I had a problem with my Google Pay console, so that's why I've switched to another talk. Hope you will be enjoying this one. So today we'll be talking about the generative AI on Android using the Gemini API. So before that, let's talk about a little more about me. So my name is Eric. So I work at Bombardier Recreational Products. So we are basically building a recreational vehicle, and I'm working there as a mobile developer, and I'm also a Google developer expert for Android. So if you want to reach out to me, you can just scan this QR code. You will have access to all my social media accounts, GitHub, LinkedIn, and so on. So what is Gemini? So well, Gemini is a family of multimodal large language model that has been developed by Google Research and Google DeepMind. And by multimodal, we mean that it can handle different kind of inputs. So it can take text, images, video, and audio and try to transform it and to give you an answer regarding what you have asked for. So the Gemini ecosystem is divided into three categories. There is the Gemini for consumer. So it's something that we already used to. So for example, right now when you are using Gmail or any kind of Google application, there is a lot of AI out there. You can use, for example, Gmail to summarize what have been sent to you by email, or you can use Google Doc to proofread the document that you are writing. And that's the consumer parts. The second part is Gemini for developer. So that includes basically the Gemini API, all the SDK that are available for developer that can use into their own application. And the last category is the Gemini for business and enterprise. So this is basically all things related to Google Workspace, the Gemini for Google Cloud, the Vertex AI kind of stuff, and so on. But today we'll be most focused on the Gemini for developer. So when it comes to talk about Gemini, so the model is divided into three sizes, if I can say like that. There is the bigger one, the Gemini Ultra. So that one is kind of big and can be used for a lot of bunch of stuff. There is the medium one, which is Gemini Pro. And the smallest one is the Gemini Nano, and we'll talk a little bit about that shortly. So like I have said, Gemini Nano is the most efficient model, and the goal behind that model is to be able to run on device. The second one, Gemini Pro, is the middle one, if I can say like that. This one can be used for, I can say, a bunch of stuff that doesn't necessarily require a huge power or a huge calculation, bunch of stuff like that. And the most capable one is Gemini Ultra. So this one can be used for a more complex task, and we are not going to explore it today. So the potential application that you can build with Gemini, so right now we are living in the LLM era, so there is probably a lot of stuff that you can do. It can be in different kind of domain, education, healthcare, customer services. There is a lot of stuff that you can do right now using LLM. So the only limitation can be your imagination. So let's try to talk a little bit about Gemini Nano. So the smallest model of the Gemini family that is meant to be executed or to be run on device. So the Gemini Nano is brought to us using the AI Core. So, and what is AI Core exactly? So AI Core is the new system service on Android that the goal behind that system service is that carry all the foundation of model that's starting from Android 14. So it's a new system service that you can call when it comes to have access to all the AI stuff that is related to your device. And also, AI Core enable what we call the LoRa, which means low rank adaptation, which is basically a tool that Google provided that can allow you to fine tune the Gemini Nano model on your device to adapt it on your use case. So depending on what you want to do, you can use LoRa to try to fine tune the model, which will be running locally on the device to be able to do what you want to do. And also, the biggest advantage of AI Core is the fact that it takes advantage of all the ML hardware that scams with a lot of flagships nowadays. So, for example, the Google Tensor chip, or the Snapdragon Gen 3 or Gen 4, whenever, for that scam with a unit dedicated for machine learning. So AI Core is dedicated to take advantage of that power process in order to be able to run the model locally without any problem. So here is the architecture of AI Core. So on one side, you will have your Android application, and your Android application will use the Google AI Edge SDK that will allow you to interact with AI Core on the Android OS. And the AI Core is mainly a combination of LoRa, the tool that helps us to fine-tune the model itself, and a lot of safety features. And AI Core will do a lot of bunch of stuff to communicate with the TPU and NPU accelerator that is available on the device. So what is the key advantage of using a on-device LLM? So the first one is obvious, the privacy. So your data is not sent to the remote server, so everything will be processed locally. The first thing is the fact that it's fast, the fact that you will not need to send your request to your remote API. So everything will be processed offline, and then you will get faster response. And another one is the fact that it provides what we call the indirect internet access. So we'll try to explain this in a bit. So basically, AI Core doesn't have a direct access to internet. So what do I mean by that? So it means that every time we need to do some set of operation that imply the data of the user, it's go through a private channel, I would say, something like that, in order just to keep sure that the data is not sent to, let's say, to Google or any kind of other provider. So I will try to explain it in detail shortly. So by private computes, what do I mean by that? So it's an open source security environment that has been introduced in Android 12, if I'm not mistaken. So the idea with this environment is to isolate, right, the AI Core from the rest of the operating system and third-party application. So the idea is to make sure that the data that will be processed online, the other application will not have access to it, just to make sure that all the data that will be processed online will stay secure. Another key advantage is the fact that data environment makes sure that the data never leaves the device. So it's an open source tools. You can find it on GitHub. Just to have an idea about how the data can transit from one place to another. When, for example, from one reason we need to, for example, update the model by downloading it from the online services. Like I have said, it's completely isolated from the rest of the system, right? Only some machine learning API can have access to the data, and even Google don't have access to the data that is proceed offline. And also, like I have said previously, so it's have an indirect, not direct access to internet. So all the requests, even when it comes to download a new model, so it will be routed through an open source private service that will handle that part. And you can try to learn more about that private compute using this link. And it's also available online. So what use case can we use if we have access to something like Gemini Nano? So the first one that we use to see it's the text rephrasing. So for example, if you are using, for example, Samsung, in the keyboard, they have had a feature that can help you. For example, you write something and you can ask the on-device model to try to rephrase the message that you have just written, just to make it better. Another use case is smart reply. So right now, if you're using the Google keyboard, right, you can have the smart reply. So the keyboard is able to understand the conversation and can suggest to you the next reply to the conversation that you are in. Another one is proofreading. So you can use it to correct some semantical or grammatical error in the text that you are working on. And lastly, you can also summarize some documents. So let's say you are reading a text, or you are in a long message on WhatsApp or something like that. You can ask for the model to summarize it for you. So for example, in Gmail, a long email, you can ask the model to summarize it for you. But this is not the limited thing that you can do with such kind of model. You can do much more, but for now, this is the small use case that I wanted to provide. So this is something that we can see right now if you are using the recorder app on the Pixel. So you can record a bunch of stuff, and it can summarize the message and give you some bullet point of what was the important part of the recording. And another use case is the smart reply in Gboard, like I have explained recently. So you can have access to this kind of feature. So everything is proceed offline, and you don't need to send your request online in order to be able to take advantage of it. So all this thing is kind of interesting, right? Being able to fine-tune your own device model on your device in order to be able to take advantage of all the power that nowadays flagship used to have. So for example, on the Samsung or the Pixel, even on the iPhone, right, they used to have a powerful chip that can handle some, I would say, heavy computation on device. Gemini Nano with AI Core can help you to do that, but currently it's only available in the private preview, which means that only a limited number of companies have access to it, and some of them it's available on the Pixel 9 series and 8 series, the S24 series, some Realme and Motorola. So it's not widely available for everyone. But you may be wondering, and in terms of modality, it's only also support only the text modality, so it's not widely available and all the feature that we are expecting it to have. But besides that, you may ask yourself a question: so how can I use Gemini into my Android application? So even though right now all the developer can't use the Gemini Nano model, but we still have the ability to use the other model, which are not running locally. Those models are available online, but there is an SDK, a Gen AI SDK provided by Google that you can use in order to be able to take advantage of some AI feature into your mobile application. So in the next couple of slides, we will try to explore that SDK. So how can we take advantage of, for example, Gemini Pro or Gemini Ultra into our mobile application? So first of all, you need to go at aistudio.google.com. So you will need to generate an API key. So since this one will not be running locally, so we'll need an API key in order to be able to interact with the model. So secondly, AI Studio help us to create a bunch of stuff. You can test the model. You can save the prompt. You can even add some image. You can even try to compare different kind of model in order to see which one is better for this kind of use case. And the AI Studio can even generate for you some starter code that you can directly integrate into your project in order to be able to see what can be the results. So like I was saying, Google AI Studio looks like this. So the first button that you will see on this menu will be the Get API Key. So you just click on that button and it will generate for you an API key. And after that, you will have access to a bunch of models which are available. So for example, here you can test the result of what we are trying to do with Gemini Pro. If Gemini Pro doesn't suit your need, you can switch from one model to another in order to be able to see which one is perfect for what I'm trying to see. And you can even add, like I've said, the Gemini is multimodal, so you can add images, you can add videos, some audio, and some bunch of text, just to test and get the results. And after that, if everything is okay for you, you can click this Get Code button, and you can get some sample. So depending on the language that you are planning to use, it's available in JavaScript, Android with Kotlin, even in Swift. And like I've said earlier, so right now the AI Studio, also the SDK, also they provide a REST API, plus a bunch of library that can be used directly into your applications. It can be a Python application, a JavaScript, Swift, or Java, whenever you want. So, and we're now trying to see what can we do on the Android side. So the first thing you need to do is to add this dependency. So just client generative AI, and you use the version that is currently available. And after that, you will need to create the generative model object. So this object represents basically the model that we'll be interacting with. So for example, here I have created the generative model. You can specify the model name that you will be using. So for example, this one I'm using the Gemini 1.5 Flash. So the main difference between the Flash and the Pro is the fact that the Flash is really fast. So for example, when you ask the question, it gives you a response really fast, but doesn't guarantee that the response will be will have a bunch of detail. So because sometimes we may compromise. So let's say I want a faster response, even though I don't want much more detail. But sometimes I want more detail and slow response, if I can say like that. You can even switch between different kind of model depending on what you are trying to do. And the second element that you can provide is the key that we have generated on the previous slides. And that's the only thing that you need right now when it's come to have access to interact with the Gemini model on your Android application. As you can see, it's really, really simple. But you can also specify a bunch of other parameters. So for example, here you can specify some configuration. So for example, the max output tokens, the temperature, and a bunch of other stuff. You can even specify the safety settings. So for example, let's say you want to define how I want the model to respond to my prompt. So for example, here you can define some bunch of configuration related to the hate speech, harassment, and so on. And after you have all those configuration, you just need to add to set up them onto into the model. And you will have now the model that is set accordingly to those parameters. And when you have this object, now it's ready to send our first prompt. As you can see, it's quite simple. So first of all, you can write a prompt. It's just a small string. And you create a coroutine scope. Since this generates content, will make a request to the model, and we'll get back to you, and we'll return the response to this response variable. Gemini also, it's multimodal, like I've said. You can use the same API, for example, to analyze the content of an image. So for example, here I have a bitmap image, so I can use a different kind of API on Android to have a bitmap. And I can define this bitmap image as part of the prompt. And I can associate a text. So for example, here, what is the object in this image? And you will send the request to the model, and the model will get back to you with a response that you can analyze or display on the screen. And one of the cool features that this SDK have is the multi-turn chat. So by default, when you send this kind of requests, the most of the time, so basically the AI don't know the context of what we are trying to say. So for example, if I ask this question, what is the object in this picture? And you ask a follow-up question. So basically the model doesn't know that you have asked a previous question. So it will interpret this follow-up question like it was a new one. So it doesn't have the context. So in case you want to preserve the context of all the conversation, then you will need to use this multi-turn chats. So you can do that by initializing the chat by calling the start chats method, and then you will be using the send message method in order to be able to send new message into the chat. So this is how it looks like. So first of all, you need to start the chat by using the start chat method. You can even define a predefined, I would say, history of your conversation. So for example, here I can define the user says, hello, I have 2 dogs in my house, and the model response, what would you like to know? And from this history, right, you can send now a follow-up question in order just, and the AI will try to respond back to you depending on the chat history that is already available. You can even decide to have an empty history, and it's fine. One other cool feature is the fact that you can stream the response. So right now, if you are using any kind of chat-based model, right, you are not getting the response in one block, right? So the thing that it will be streaming the response. So as soon as the model generates a response, you will be able to display it chunk by chunk until the end. So you can achieve this by using the method generate content stream, right? And this one is kind of useful, right? The first thing you need to do is to initialize an empty string, and then call the generate content stream, right? And you provide the input content. The input content can represent the prompt, or the prompt with an image, or any kind of content input supported by Gemini. And after that, we'll be just collecting the response. And every time we get something new, you just need to append it into our output content, and you can even display it progressively instead of waiting for the entire response to come. So now we will try to see in practice how these things work. I'll try to increase a little bit. So I have a small Android application here. As you can see, is kind of simple. I have 3 buttons. So just to illustrate the 3 use cases that I have presented here. This one is just for text. So you will send a text, and the model will will respond back to you. The second one here, we will try to set some image to add some image into the response and ask the model some question related to the content. And the last one, we will try to explore the chat feature coming with the SDK. So as you can see, interacting with the model in Android is kind of simple. So as you can see, I have created the generative model object, specify the name of the model I want to use. Here I can specify my my access token, though this one is a temporary one, and I can also specify some bunch of configuration depending on what I want to do. You can even define a different kind of configuration depending on which use case. For example, let's say if I want to interact with image, I want a model with this kind of configuration. You can even do that depending on your use case. So now let's try to do that. For example, here I can try to ask a small question. For example, who painted the Mona Lisa, for example? And let's see what are we going to. So as you can see, I have used the Gemini Flash. So as you can see, it doesn't provide too much detail, but the response was quite fast. So the Mona Lisa was painted by Leonardo da Vinci. And let me ask a follow-up question. So for example, where can I see it? So as you can see, so the model wasn't able to understand that this question was a follow-up question to my first one, and the response is, please provide me some text I would like to summarize. So the model doesn't even understand what this question is about. And we will try to fix this problem by using the multi-turn chart. For example, here, I'm already have, so this one is for images, so let me try this, the last one. So for example, I already have an history. So for example here, hello, I have 2 dogs in my house. The model response, great, nice to meet you. What would you like to know? So for example, I can ask something like, a simple question, for example, how many pets do I have? And let's see what are we going to get. Let me zoom a bit. So as you can see, the model has been able to understand the context of my conversation. So as you can see, you have 2 dogs, so you have obviously 2 pets, right? This is kind of interesting because the model has been able to save or to keep the context of the conversation. So the last thing that I want to showcase here is being able to add an image. For example, let's say I have this painting image. I can say, for example, let's say who is on this image, and let's see what are we going to get. As you can see, the response is the image is of the Mona Lisa. As you can see, the model has been able to understand the context or the content of the image. And as I have used the Gemini Flash, the response is quite fast, but doesn't contain too much detail. So in summary, so Gemini is like I've said previously, is the family of large language model. And it's categorized into different, 3 different sizes: Gemini Ultra, Gemini Pro, and Gemini Nano, which is aimed to be built on device, but it's currently not available for public. It's only available for private preview. But there are already a bunch of stuff that can be there is kind of documentation that it's not that full. So for example, the AI core documentation, it's not there yet, but there are a bunch of information that's coming up related to Gemini and others. So very soon we'll be able to use that and take advantage of the power of our flagship nowadays. So that was it. Thank you very much. And if you want to have access to this sample code, you can just scan this QR code and play with the sample code by your own. Thank you very much.